Hey, what is up, everybody? Happy Monday, and welcome to a very special edition of the Brook Report. It is Christmas Eve, and I have 3 Christmas stories for you right now to inspire, to motivate, and to help you better enjoy your holiday. And with that being said, we're going to take a small detour from the land of internet marketing for a moment, and we're going to enjoy Christmas Eve the way that it was always intended for us to enjoy. Right here on the Brick Report on this December 24th, 2018. Let's do it.
God rest you, merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ the Savior was born on Christmas Day, to save us all from Satan's fault when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy, oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
So the first story that I have for you is called On Santa's Team. And it's a great little story by Carol Laycock. So let's go ahead and get into it. My grandma taught me everything about Christmas. I was just a kid. I remember tearing across town on my bike to visit her on the day my big sister dropped the bomb. "There is no Santa Claus," jeered my sister. "Even dummies know that." My grandma was not the gushy kind, never had been. I fled to her that day because I knew she would be straight with me. I knew Grandma always told the truth, and I knew that the truth always went down a whole lot easier when swallowed with one of her world-famous cinnamon buns. Grandma was home. The buns were still warm. Between bites, I told her everything. She was ready for me. "No Santa Claus," she snorted. "Ridiculous. Don't believe it. That rumor has been going around for years, and it makes me mad. Plain mad. Now, go put on your coat, and let's go." "Go? Go where, Grandma?" I asked. I hadn't even finished my second cinnamon bun. Where turned out to be Kirby's General Store, the one store in town that had a little bit of just about everything. As we walked through its doors, Grandma handed me $10. That was a bundle in those days. "Take this money," she said, "and buy something for someone who needs it. I'll wait for you in the car." Then she turned and walked out of Kirby's. I was only 8 years old. I'd often gone shopping with my mother, but never had I shopped for anything all by myself. The store seemed big and crowded, full of people scrambling to finish their Christmas shopping. For a few moments, I just stood there, confused, clutching that $10 bill, wondering what to buy and who on earth to buy it for. I thought of everybody I knew, my family, my friends, my neighbors, the kids at school, the people who went to my church. I was just about thought out when I suddenly thought of Bobby Decker. He was a kid with bad breath and messy hair. He sat right behind me in Mrs. Pollock's grade 2 class. Bobby Decker didn't have a coat. I knew that because he never went out for recess during the winter. His mother always wrote a note telling the teacher that he had a cough. But all we kids knew that Bobby Decker didn't have a cough, and he didn't have a coat. I fingered the $10 bill with growing excitement. I would buy Bobby Decker a coat. I settled on a red corduroy one that had a hood to it. It looked really warm, and he would like that. I didn't see a price tag, but $10 ought to buy anything. I put the coat and my $10 bill on the counter and pushed them towards the lady behind it. She looked at the coat, the money, and me. "Is this a Christmas present for someone?" she asked kindly. "Yes," I replied shyly. "It's for Bobby. He's in my class and he doesn't have a coat." The nice lady smiled at me. I didn't get any change, but she put the coat in a bag and wished me a Merry Christmas. That evening, Grandma helped me wrap the coat in Christmas paper and ribbons and write, "To Bobby from Santa Claus" on it. Grandma said that Santa always insisted on secrecy. Then she drove me over to Bobby Decker's house, explaining as we went that I was now and forever officially one of Santa's helpers. Grandma parked down the street from Bobby's house, and she and I crept noiselessly and hid in the bushes by his front walk. Suddenly, Grandma gave me a nudge. "All right, Santa Claus," she whispered, "get going." I took a deep breath, dashed for his front door, and threw the present on his step, pounded his doorbell twice, and flew back to the safety of the bushes and Grandma. Together, we waited breathlessly in the dark for the front door to open. Finally it did, and there stood Bobby. He looked down, looked around, picked up his present, took it inside, and closed the door. 40 years haven't dimmed the thrill of those moments spent shivering beside my grandma in Bobby Decker's bushes. That night I realized that those awful rumors about Santa Claus were just what Grandma said they were: ridiculous. Santa was alive and well, and we were on his team. That's story number 1. I absolutely loved it. This year we had to have a talk with our kids about Santa Claus, and it was kind of rough, but we got through it, and just a little bit of magic felt like it got taken away from us, as parents this Christmas, but that's okay. That's a great story, and it really kind of brings it back home what Christmas is truly about, So this next story is entitled Christmas Story for the Man Who Hated Christmas. This is by Nancy Gavin. It was just a small white envelope stuck among the branches of our Christmas tree. No name, no identification, no inscription. It had peeked through the branches of our tree for the past 10 years. It all began because my husband Mike hated Christmas. Oh, not the true meaning of Christmas, but the commercial aspect of it. Overspending and the frantic running around at the last minute to get a tie for Uncle Harry and the dusting powder for Grandma. The gifts given in desperation because you couldn't think of anything else. Knowing he felt this way, I decided one year to bypass the usual shirts, sweaters, ties, and so forth. I reached for something special, just for Mike. The inspiration came in an unusual way. Our son Kevin, who was 12 that year, was on the wrestling team at the school he attended. Shortly before Christmas, there was a non-league match against a team sponsored by an inner-city church. These youngsters dressed in sneakers so ragged that shoestrings seemed to be the only thing holding them together. Presented a sharp contrast to our boys in their spiffy blue and gold uniforms and sparkling new wrestling shoes. As the match began, I was alarmed to see that the other team was wrestling without headgear, a kind of light helmet designed to protect a wrestler's ears. It was a luxury the ragtag team obviously could not afford. Well, we ended up walloping them. We took every weight class. Mike, seated beside me, shook his head sadly. "I just wish one of them could have won," he said. "They have a lot of potential, but losing like this could take the heart right out of them." Mike loved kids, all kids. He so enjoyed coaching Little League football, baseball, and lacrosse. That's when the idea for his present came. That afternoon, I went to a local sporting goods store and bought an assortment of wrestling headgear and shoes and sent them anonymously to the inner city church. On Christmas Eve, I placed a small white envelope on the tree, the note inside telling Mike what I had done and that this was his gift from me. Mike's smile was the brightest thing about Christmas that year. And the same bright smile lit up succeeding years. For each Christmas, I followed the tradition. One year, sending a group of mentally handicapped youngsters to a hockey game. Another year, to check a pair of elderly brothers whose home had burned to the ground the weeks before Christmas, and on and on. The white envelope became the highlight of our Christmas. It was always the last thing opened on Christmas morning, and our children, ignoring their new toys, would stand with wide-eyed anticipation as their dad lifted the envelope from the tree to reveal its contents. As the children grew, the toys gave way to more practical presents, but the small white envelope never lost its allure. The story doesn't end there. You see, we lost Mike last year due to dreaded cancer. When Christmas rolled around, I was still so wrapped in grief that I barely got the tree up, but Christmas Eve found me placing an envelope on that tree. And the next morning, I found it was magically joined by 3 more white envelopes. Unbeknownst to the others, each of our 3 children had for the first time placed a white envelope on the tree for their dad. The tradition has grown and someday will expand even further with our grandchildren standing to take down that special envelope. I thought that was an amazing story because as I was out there Christmas shopping this year, I noticed how mean and angry everybody was, especially the days leading up to Christmas. Even yesterday, I was out there, people were yelling at their kids. Everybody just had a really weird kind of energy about them, and it definitely felt stressed out there. People seemed stressed out and anxious and not necessarily in the Christmas spirit, and this story really kind of brought it back home to what it should be about. So pretty neat. And number 3, this next story is entitled The Christmas Truce by David G. Stratton. It was December 25th, 1914. Only 5 months into World War I, German, British, and French soldiers, already sick and tired of the senseless killing, disobeyed their superiors and fraternized with the enemy along 2/3 of the Western Front. It was a crime punishable by death in times of war. German troops held Christmas trees up out of the trenches with signs, "Merry Christmas." You know shoot, we know shoot. Thousands of troops streamed across the no-man's land strewn with rotting corpses. They sang Christmas carols, exchanged photographs of loved ones back home, shared rations, played football, even roasted some pigs. Soldiers embraced men they had been trying to kill a few short hours before. They agreed to warn each other if the top brass forced them to fire their weapons and to aim high. A shudder ran through the high command on either side. Here was disaster in the making. Soldiers declaring their brotherhood with each other and refusing to fight? Generals on both sides declared this spontaneous peacemaking to be treasonous and subject to court-martial. By March 1915, the fraternization movement had been eradicated and the killing machine put back in full operation. By the time of the armistice in 1918, 15 million would be slaughtered. Not many people have heard the story of the Christmas Truce. On Christmas Day in 1988, a story in the Boston Globe mentioned that a local FM radio host played Christmas in the Trenches, a ballad about the Christmas Truce, 7 times and was startled by the effect. The song became the most requested recording during the holidays in Boston on several FM stations. Even more startling than the number of requests I get is the reaction to the ballad afterwards by callers who hadn't heard it before, said the radio host. They telephoned me deeply moved, sometimes in tears, asking, "What the hell did I just hear?" You can probably guess why the callers were in tears. The Christmas Truce story goes against most of what we have been taught about people. It gives us a glimpse of the world as we wish it could be and says, this really happened once. It reminds us of those thoughts we keep hidden away out of range of the TV and newspapers, stories that tell us how trivial and mean human life is. It is like hearing that our deepest wishes really are true. The world really could be different. That's the Christmas Truce. I saved that one for last. I thought it was amazing. Now, it is Christmas Eve, and I could put together some kind of sale, some kind of new training, some kind of marketing ploy to get you to pull out your wallets yet again and buy something. But I really don't feel like doing that today. I want you to give your wallets a break. I'm sure you've been hitting your wallets plenty hard the last couple of weeks getting ready for Christmas. And I just want to wish you all from the bottom of my heart, from my family to your family, a very warm and Merry Christmas. I hope you have a fantastic holiday, and I will see you on the next Brick Report. Peace, everybody.